Hey guys, in this section I want to try to get in two main topics, and the first one is I want to show you how to do relations or associations of different models and tables. For instance, we have the categories table and we have an ID field. We want the categories ID field to actually match up with the posts category ID field. So this should go to this. They relate. They have an association. So I want to go through that and just show you how to implement that in your models. The second thing I want to try to get to is I want to do some CRUD, which is create, read, update, and delete. I want to do that through the Rails console because we haven't worked with the Rails console at all, and I'd really like to get some of that stuff in here. I might have to put it in a different section, but we'll definitely get to it. So let's open up our project file folder in the sites folder, and then my Ruby blog. And there's just one thing I forgot to do that if you guys are following along, you should also do. Let's go to the config folder and then to the routes.ruby file. And you can see we put our resource, our post resource in here. I just want to add the category resource. So just do resources and categories. It should be plural. And then just save that. And then you can get out of that. I just wanted to get that settled first. So now what I want to do is I'll show you this website, guides.rubyonrails.org. Is a fantastic, definitely the best support site with the best documentation for Ruby on Rails. And if you go to this page, it's the associations basics.html page, and you can read all about the different associations available when dealing with Ruby on Rails models and databases. And we can do this association, this field to this field, ID to category ID. We can do that in literally one line of code in the models. So what I'm going to do now is open up those models. If we go to our app and then to the app folder and then click on models, and then you'll see we have category and post here, and all they are is just an empty class. It's just the post class that extends the active record base. Same thing with the category class. But there are many kinds of associations in Rails, and these are what they are right here. We have the belongs to, has one, has many through, has one through, has and belongs to many. The two that we're going to focus on are belongs to and has one, I believe. One second. No, has many. So belongs to and has many. And if you go down here, you can see an example. They have an orders table, and in the orders table they have a field called customer ID. And we have a customers table with just an ID field, and you can see they match up just like let me go back to ours, just like the category ID matches up with this category ID. And I apologize, this might confuse you because I have the data type here, the integer and string. Maybe I shouldn't have did that because that kind of complicates things, but same exact thing, except we're using categories and posts. They're using orders and customers. It's the same thing. So the line of code that I was talking about that we can do this, we can implement this association, is right here, this belongs to customer. So in the order class, or the order model, same thing, they have this code here. So that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to go to our one second. Let's go to our posts. Okay, so our posts is kind of like, well, is just like their orders, because there's many orders for one customer, just like there's many posts for one category. So in our post, we're going to add that same thing. we're going to add belongs to and we're going to put, instead of customer like they have it, it's going to be category. It should be the singular version, so category, not categories. And one other thing we should have here is our attribute assessor with the names of our fields that we want to use. I believe that usually gets created for you. I'm not sure what happened, but just put this line in there, attributes accessible, and then we're going to put, let's see, in our posts we have a name, and what else did we have? Let me just go back to that Excel file. In our posts we don't need to put any of the auto created fields. We have a body, category ID, and author ID. Alright, so we just want to put body, category ID, and author ID. And that should do that. I should have had those in there already, but just add those. And then one other thing, actually, I was going to add the form validation, but we haven't gone over any of that yet, so I'm going to hold off on that. But in the models is where you would do your form validation for adding new posts or categories. So that should be good for the post model. So let's save that, and let's go over to the category model, and let's go back to this website, and it shows us about the has one association, which will set up a one-to-one connection with another model, but with somewhat different semantics. This association indicates that each instance of a model contains or possesses one instance of another model. And they give this example with suppliers and accounts. The has one we're not going to focus on right now. What we want is the has many, because we're going to be saying the categories has many posts. So if we go over to, and this is the syntax right here, simple line of code. So we want to go to our category model, and we want to do has many posts. And we also want to do the attribute assessor here, so accessible, whatever. So let's just copy that. I think we only have a name. Let's see. Yeah, categories, we're only dealing with the name field, table, column. Sorry. So let's just copy that and put that right in here. That should be good. So category has many posts, and posts belong to category. So those are the two main things you need to include if you want to create an association. Granted, you have to create the table structure as well, like we did. You have to include this category ID field when you create the database, just like we did, or else you can't do it. So save that. Save the category and post models, and that's all we have to do for that. So what I'd like to do now is actually show you how to use the Rails console, and from the console we can actually start adding categories and posts to our database. So if we just get out of the editor, and we can get out of this. What else do we get here? No. Yeah, so what we want to do is open up your shell prompt through the git bash software that we should have installed a few chapters ago. And we just want to go to our apps directory. So if you're using Windows, you need to go to C sites, and then to my Ruby blog or whatever you called your app, and just list the files just to make sure we're there. Now to get into the Rails console is very easy. You can do Rails C or you can do Rails console. Alright, so we're officially in the Rails console, and now we have to figure out what we're going to actually do. We can't really read from the database or update or delete because we have nothing in our database. We have two empty tables. We have posts and categories, but there's no actual posts and categories in there. So the first thing I would say we should do is add some categories. I haven't thought this through fully, so we have to figure out what categories we're going to have. We should just create a couple, I guess. So this is going to be a Ruby on Rails based blog, so I'd say maybe news, tutorials, what else? Maybe what else is there? About programming. I guess we could use those three categories for now: news, tutorials, and programming. Maybe design. Yeah, so that's good. I mean, the names of them aren't really important. What's important is that you are understanding what we're doing. So let's say we want to create a category. So let's do category. This is a variable, okay? So it's just a variable called category, and I just want to say I want to assign it to category.new, and then we're going to open some parentheses, and in here is where we want to put the information or the fields that we want for this particular entry or this category. So what do we have? Let me just look at our schema real quick. And our categories, all we need to worry about is a name, because the ID and the timestamps or the date fields, whatever they are auto-created for us. So we don't need to do anything with those three fields. The name, however, we have to create. So all we need to do is pass in a hash. And we talked about hashes in I think it was chapter 2 in the Ruby, in the programming section. So we'll just say name equals, and then we want to put a category here. So let's just say news. And that should be all we need. So we just have a variable category equals a new instance of the category object, and we're just giving it a name of news. So if we click enter or press enter, what happened here? Oh, I'm sorry. We need to have an equal sign and a greater than sign. So let's do that again. Category equals category with a capital C dot new parentheses, and we want our hash, which is our name field, and then we have to do this greater than sign, not just the equal sign. And then we want our string is going to be news, and strings are always in quotes, so that should do it for us. Now this new command or method, it doesn't put the field in the database yet. So this news category is not yet in the database. You can see here if it shows category ID nil, so it's not in there yet. If it was, then this would have an ID. To actually save it in the database, we have to do category, which is the variable that we created, category.save. So now it's saved in the database. You can see it has the query here, insert into categories, and so on. Now if you don't want to do those two steps, which is the new and then save, we can use the created function, which will automatically put it in the database in that first step. So what we want to do is we'll add in our next category. So category equals, and we're going to do category dot, now we dot new, now we're going to do dot create, because we don't want to have to do that extra save step. So, and it's done the same way. You just want to put in a hash, what are we doing, name, and then you want the equals and then the greater than sign, and then you put the category name in the quotes. So the next one will be tutorials, and we can press enter, and that created, you can see here, category, the ID is number 2 because it's auto increment. The next one we can create will be 3 and then 4. So let's do that again. Now you can click the push the up key if you want the last command, and it's much easier to do that and then just add another name. So in programming, you can see it has a category ID of 3, and then we'll do one more, which was design. So now we should have 4 categories in our database. So now we can do some reading. Okay, so to read, let's first use the all method. So let's do category equals category.all, and this will just show us here, it shows us the, let me see here, category ID 2, tutorials, programming. I don't see the first one. Oh, news right there, category ID 1. Yeah, so this just gives us an array kind of everything. So that's the all method, and we'll be using that in our actual programming code as well, because obviously when we have our blog application, we're not going to use that. This isn't going to be our main method of updating and adding posts. So if you're thinking that that's not what we're going to be doing, I know that would be a real disappointment if this is what you had to do to update your blog. So this is, I just wanted to kind of get you comfortable with the console. That's all. Guys, one thing I just realized is that in our post table we have a title. The column is called title, not name, and so we have to go back into our model. Let me find it. We have to go back into our post model and change this, because we put name here, so just change that to title, and that should be the only thing that the only area we added that. So it should be fine. Just save it, and now let's continue with the console. I apologize, I had to stop the video for a second. So now what we want to do, we have 4 categories in our database. Okay, so now we want to create a couple posts so we can actually interact with this database. So we're going to do that the same way. We're just going to use post instead of category. So post equals post dot create, and same thing, we're going to pass in the hash. We're going to have title, and that's going to be, remember, equal sign, then greater than, and then just put that in between the quotes. I'm just going to say our first post, and then we separate these key value pairs with a comma. So the next one we're going to have is body, and we'll make that just, this is some sample text. And the last thing we want to add, well, we do have this author ID, but I'm not going to do that right now because we're going to be dealing with the users later. So we're just going to have the title, body, and category. So the category ID, now remember, we have 4 categories, and the ID was incremented automatically. So the first one was 1, second one was 2. I think we put news for the first one, but we don't put the name, we put the ID. So the ID is 1, and there's no quotes because it's an integer. So that should do it. And you can see it was successful. The author ID is nil because we didn't include that. So everything else looks good. Let's just create one more. If we just hit the up key, we can just change. Let's just change the title to our second post, and then just go over and maybe change the body a little. This is, we'll just say this is some sample text for the second post. And category, let's just, I guess, change it to 2. Alright, so now we have 4 categories and we have 2 posts in our database. And I showed you how to do the posts or the category .all, which would just list all the categories of posts. But we can also grab a single post or category. And I'll just show you how to do that real quick. It's post. We want to do post equals post.find, which will find a particular post, and you want to input the ID in there. So if we do post equals post.find 1, that's going to find the first post, and you'll see it returned all the information about the first post, the ID, the title, the body, and the dates. So that's how you would get a individual post. You can also get individual fields. Remember, this post variable has the first post in it, so we can do post.title, and it'll show us the title. We can do post.body, and we can do post.category ID, which is 1, and we can do post.author ID, which should be nil because we didn't put it in, so that's nil. So you can read all posts, you can get individual posts. So that's it for the read. So we did create and read. Now I will show you how to update posts. So we can do that. Let's say post. Remember, we already have in memory the first post because we did that post find 1. So we can do post.title, and we can simply change that to, let's say, this is. Just say this is the new title. Alright, so it'll just return that back to us. Now if we do post title again, you'll see it's the new title. So that's a simple update. Now, just like with the new method, when you use this, you just update it like this. It's not in the database yet. This is only in memory. The change is only in memory. To actually finalize it with the database, you just do post save, and that saved the new title. Now again, if you don't want to do the 2 steps with the save method, you can use there's 2 methods you can use. You can use update attribute or update attributes. If you want to just edit one field, you just use attribute. So let's do that. So we'll say post.update underscore attribute, and we just want to put in what the field we want to change. So let's say title, and we'll say you just want to do the hash thing like we've been doing. Title, this is the updated title. 1 second. Wrong number of arguments. Title. Oh, I'm sorry. If we're doing the update attribute, the singular version, we don't use the equal greater than sign. We use a comma. So I'm just going to hit up and go back here, and we just want to get rid of that and just put a comma here, and that'll update it for us. So that's one step to update the title. We don't have to do post save now. So that is update. So we did create, read, and update, and delete or destroy is probably the easiest. Remember, we already have that first post in memory, so all we would need to do is just post dot destroy. And I'm not going to destroy it just because I don't want to. I want the IDs in order. So if I just clicked enter, then that would just delete. It would totally destroy the first entry, the entire post. So I'm not going to do that, but that's simple. That's all you would do to get rid of a post. So these commands are the same thing as what we'll be using in our models to actually do the same type of stuff, update posts and create new posts. But we're going to build an interface to do that with, so we don't have to do this, because this would be brutal if this is the way we had to manage our blog. So that's it for this, and I'll see you in the next video.